From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, January the 27th, 2017. An Israeli vehicle came under attack this afternoon in the West Bank. According to the IDF, a Palestinian gunman opened fire at the car as it drove by the Jewish settlement of Neely. The car was hit, but there were no injuries, and the IDF found several bullet casings and was searching for the terrorist. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was once again questioned this morning at his office in Jerusalem in relation to allegations of suspected corruption. This was the third round of questioning of the Prime Minister by detectives from Israel Police's Lahav 433 anti-corruption unit. Netanyahu afterwards once again dismissed the allegations against him and thanked his Likud party for their support and said he intends to continue to lead the party and the State of Israel for many years to come. The Palestinian Authority announced this week that its president Mahmoud Abbas will travel to Paris in 2 weeks to meet with French President François Hollande as a follow-up to the Middle East Peace Summit that took place in Paris on January the 15th. PA news agency Wafa cited Abbas speaking to a meeting of the Fatah Revolutionary Council on Wednesday, where he said he would go to France on February the 7th to, quote, set into place a clear and defined international mechanism, referring there to his previous calls for an international body to oversee a peace process between the Palestinians and Israel. Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and special ceremonies and commemorative events are being held across the globe, including at the United Nations, where Holocaust survivor Noah Klieger addressed the General Assembly today. Klieger, who survived the Auschwitz death camp, was accompanied by his grandson, who serves in the IDF. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke at the UN today as well, where he vowed,
I will be in the front line of the battle against anti-Semitism and all other forms of hatred. And that is the best way to build a future of dignity and equality for all, and the best way to honor the victims of the Holocaust we will never allow to be forgotten. Thank you very much.
Guterres earlier this week released a video statement on the importance of Holocaust remembrance and the continued threat of anti-Semitism, bigotry, and hatred.
And it would be a dangerous error to think of the Holocaust as simply the result of the insanity of a group of criminal Nazis. On the contrary, the Holocaust was the culmination of millennia of hatred, scapegoating, and discrimination targeting the Jews, what we now call anti-Semitism. Tragically, and contrary to our resolve, anti-Semitism continues to thrive. And we are also seeing a deeply troubling rise in extremism, xenophobia, racism, and anti-Muslim hatred. Irrationality and intolerance are back. And this is in complete contrast to the universal values enshrined in the United Nations Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We can never remain silent or indifferent when human beings are suffering so much.
And Jewish and Christian leaders gathered today at the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp in Poland, where some 1.1 million people were murdered, most of whom were Jews, but also Poles, Roma, Soviet prisoners of war, and others. Poland's Prime Minister Beata Szydło said of the Holocaust, it's an open wound that may close sometimes, but it shall never be fully healed and must not be forgotten. On Sunday, Auschwitz survivor and Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel will be remembered in a special ceremony in New York City. Artists, community leaders, government officials, students, and fellow survivors will gather for a community reading of Wiesel's story of survival night at the Museum of Jewish Heritage, being co-presented by the National Yiddish Theater Folksbiene. Among those taking part in the reading, Joel Gray, Tova Feldshuh, and Dr. Ruth. Wiesel died last July at the age of 87. And here on JBS, we will air a special L'chaim interview of Elie Wiesel with Mark Golub tomorrow morning, Saturday at 10:30. And looking now at tonight's programs for Friday, January the 27th, live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by a concert from Hazamir Chorale at 7:30. Then at 8 o'clock, former Chief Rabbi of Britain, Lord Jonathan Sacks, speaks with historian Simon Shama at the 92nd Street Y. And at 9, it's the film A Jewish Spirit Sings. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 5:30, Rabbi Shlomo Riskin looks at this week's Torah portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, January the 27th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom.